All right, complementary angles are angles that add up to 90 degrees. So two angles, they might be touching, so they look like a right angle, or they might be side by side, but not touching. Any two angles that have angle measures that add up to 90 degrees will be complementary. So in this set, these are complementary angles. If one is 30, what's the other? 60 degrees. 90 minus 30 is 60. If this angle is 40 degrees, what's this missing angle? 50. 90 minus 40 is 50. So complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So supplementary angles might make a straight line, or they might just be two random angles, and they're called supplementary because the problem says these two angles are supplementary angles, so you know they add up to 180 degrees. If one angle is 135, what's the other one? 45. And if one angle is 75, what's the other one? 105. A trick to remember the difference between complementary and supplementary. One trick, here's a C for complementary. You can draw a line to make that 90 degrees. Here's an S for supplementary, and you can add lines to this to make it 180 degrees. Other tricks people like, C comes before S in the alphabet, and 90 is smaller than 180. Another trick people like, I'll do this up here. Here's a C for complementary. Here's another upside down C for complementary. And together it kind of makes an S for supplementary, because 90 plus 90 is 180. Okay? 3 tricks. Better not forget that. Vertical angles are angles that are across from each other. So two lines will intersect to create 4 angles. The angles across from each other, not side by side, but across from each other, are vertical. Vertical angles are congruent. And congruent means that they're the same. So they have the same measurement. So here's 2 lines, they intersect, creating 4 angles. Angle 1 is vertical to which angle? 3. 1 and 3 are across from each other. If angle 1 is 75 degrees, what's angle 3?
75.
Good. Angle 2 is across from which angle? 4. If angle 2 is 105, what's angle 4? 105. These little lines, like here's one line and here's one line, when you do 2 lines and 2 lines, any number of lines that match up mean that they're congruent. So 1 and 3 are congruent, 2 and 4 are congruent because I drew the same little number of curves. You don't need to know that though. And adjacent angles are angles that are next to each other. They share the same side. So this says, what is an angle adjacent to angle 2? So here are the lines that make up angle 2. This line turns up here, so angle 1 is adjacent to angle 2. And what's the other one? I think I heard it. 4. So 1 is right next to 2, it shares this top side. 4 is right next to 2, it shares this bottom side. So you have to share one side. 3 and 5 are not involved. Okay? Adjacent angles, for some reason, are usually the hardest for people. Because they think that like if they all come to a point in the middle, then they're all adjacent, but that's not true. They share a side, not a point. All right, on the back, this is a test question. You will see this on a test or quiz. All right, I'm going to start with vertical angles first. So here's angle 1. What's vertical to angle 1? 4. So 1 and 4 are vertical. They're directly across from each other. That means they're both 90 degrees. What's across from angle 2? 5. 2 and 5 are directly across from each other. And what's across from angle 3?
6.
Good. Okay. Supplementary angles are 2 angles, not 3 or 4 or 5, but 2 angles that add up to how much?
180.
Okay. Which 2 angles will add up to 180 degrees?
24.
Perfect. So 90 plus 90 is 180. You either have to have 2 90-degree angles or one obtuse and one acute angle to get to 180. All right, so 1 and 4 add up to 180. If we're looking for complementary angles, again, I want a pair. 1 is already 90 degrees. 4 is already 90 degrees, so 1 and 4 cannot be a pair of complementary angles. So you're not going to use these at all. What is a pair of complementary angles? Go ahead.
6 and 3.
No, 6 and 3 are vertical. It's close though. Go ahead. Go.
3 and 2.
Okay, 2 and 3. So this is a straight line. This is 90 degrees, which means this is also 90 degrees. So 2 and 3 together will be complementary. What's another pair of complementary angles? 5 and 6, okay. All right. This next part is a little tricky. We do not know these angle measurements. I'm going to write down something that could be the angle measurement. I am making this up. But say angle 3 was 30 degrees. What would angle 2 have to be?
60.
Okay. So I made that up. Because I know that they're 90 degrees, so I'm just going to plug in numbers that work. These are 30 and 60. What's angle 6? Okay. And what's angle 5? Okay. So 30 plus 60 is 90 degrees. Is there another angle that you could add to 30 to get to 90 degrees? Okay, so 3 and 5. So this 30 will match with this 60. And what else is complementary to angle 2? 2 and 6. This is the one that people have the hardest time with, which is why I tried to do it last. But if you wrote down possible angle measurements, it might be better for you to visualize. And what 2 angles are adjacent to angle 1?
2 and 6.
2 and 6. And what angles are adjacent to 3?
2 and 4.
2 and 4. Okay, those are just definitions. You'll have a little bit of that on your test. A lot of it's going to be working with equations or like finding out missing angles. So this says given that the measure of angle 1 is 3x plus 2. So I'm going to write that down in here. So this is 3x plus 2. And the measure of angle 2 is 55. So this one is 55. Calculate the value of x. So angle 1 and angle 2 should add up to what? 90. So if I were to come up with an equation, angle 1, which is 3x plus 2, and angle 2, which is 55, together should make 90 degrees. This is an equation. You can subtract 55 from both sides to start. Some people might just like to say 55 plus 35 is 90, so 3x plus 2 should be 90 degrees, or it should be 35 degrees. So you could just start there, knowing that that's 35, or you can set up the whole equation. Subtract 2 from both sides. 3x equals 33. Divide both sides by 3. Good. So the value of x is 11. Okay. What was the measure of angle 1? That's just what x is. 35. All right, this is 35 degrees. What's the measure of angle 4? 35. And what's the measure of angle 5?
3 is 9.
What'd you say? 145. How'd you get that? 180 minus 35 is 145. So this is a straight line. If 4 is 35, 5 is 145. You could do it going this way too. This is a straight line. 35, 145. All right. Is there any more time to write? All right. What kind of angles are these? Right angles, what's another word? Complementary. And complementary angles equals what? 90 degrees. If we were to make an equation, this angle, 8x plus 5, plus this angle, 3x plus 8, equals what? Good. So I took my first angle, 8x plus 5, my second angle, 3x plus 8. I added them together because I know the sum of two complementary angles is 90 degrees. This is an equation. You have to solve it. Combine your like terms. 8x plus 3x is 11x. 5 plus 8 is 13. Subtract 13 from both sides. 11x equals 77. And divide both sides by 11, so x equals 7. Sorry, that's tiny. All right, so x equals 7. That's step 1. It says solve for x, which we did, and then find the measures of the missing angles. So what should we do with 7 to find out what these angles are? Okay. So we're not going to do this equation again. 8 times 7 plus 5 equals 50. 8 times 7 is 56 plus 5. All right, so this angle is 61 degrees. To do this one, you can plug 7 back in. 3 times 7 is 21 plus 8. Or you could do 90 minus 61, and you'll still get 29. So either way, you could evaluate an expression, or once you do it to one, you can just subtract to find the other. Oops, sorry. Thank you. All right, the next one. What kind of angles are those that are missing? Vertical, and what does that mean?
I always had one easy.
Supplementary angles add up to 180. They are across from each other. They're congruent. If they are congruent, they are equal to each other. So 2x plus 29 equals what? Good. When you have variables on both sides, you want to get your variables on the same side, so we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. 29 equals 3x plus 20. Subtract 20 from both sides. 9 equals 3x. And divide both sides by 3. X equals 3. All right, if x equals 3, what should we do with that number to find out the missing angle? Five times 3 plus 20 is what? 35. If this is 35, what's this one? Okay. You could plug this in. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 29 is 35. So you know you solved the problem, right? By checking yourself like that. All right, questions? All right, I would keep this out. You guys have boom cards to do. You should be able to get them done by the end of class. There's nothing to write on. You just have to do them and get them all right.
All of them?
Yeah, there's like 10 and 11. So you need your computers to do boom cards. If you don't finish them, do them for homework. Yeah, throw it back.